post-game show here on the A&T Athletics Facebook page, as well as TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. He's Al Swann. I'm Donal Ware. Another tough loss for A&T, this time 21-7 to Campbell. We are here in Buies Creek. For those that may not know, Buies Creek, it's not very far from Dunn. If you don't know Dunn, that's not very far from Fayetteville State. But the Aggies come down this way, and it looked kind of bad, both offensively and defensively, the first couple of possessions, especially defense. Big plays for Campbell. But then all of a sudden that A&T defense settled down and stopped Campbell for 5 straight possessions.
No doubt about it, Donal. I mean, it's tough to say because we came away with a 21-7 loss, but this was probably one of the better games that we played all year from a defensive standpoint. And if we could take away those 2 big plays to Brown, the first quarter he had a 64-yard touchdown pass, seemingly was some type of coverage mistake in the Aggie secondary that left him wide open. And then, of course, in the fourth quarter, he had a 53-yard touchdown pass that resulted from either miscommunication or blown coverage. But take away those 2 big plays by Brown, and the Aggie defense just did just a super job today. And it's just really unfortunate that when you're A&T, it's just really tough because we talked about how the margin for error is just so slim. And you almost got to play a perfect game, which is really, really hard to do. But they hung in there. They never quit. They played hard every play. But we just gave up those 2 big plays, which was enough for Campbell to come away with a win.
You look at the stats, 30 carries for 92 yards really doesn't tell the story because your 2 running backs combined for 101 yards on 22 carries, which is decent.
Yeah.
That's more than 5 yards, or that's about 5 yards a carry.
5 yards, yeah.
The issue, however, is you would have loved to see A&T run the football a little bit more, but a couple of things. 1, it was behind.
Yep.
2, sometimes they had penalties that did not allow for them to run the football.
Yeah, we talked about before the game the importance of A&T not having these self-inflicted wounds in terms of, fumbles lost, and we didn't today. But penalties, we had 10 penalties for 60 yards, and a lot of those penalties, as you said, Donald, really came at unfortunate times that really were very instrumental in stopping a drive. And so, again, they really played hard and take away those 2 big plays, and we're right in the game, but that's all a part of the game itself. And so this is just a tough loss for A&T today.
Darryl says 1-7. Here we go again. I think this time around, you just got to get something offensively. And you're right. And I'm interested to see what may have happened on those really long plays to Sincere Brown, because outside of those 2 big plays, Sincere Brown is a really, really good receiver. Outside of those 2 plays, A&T played him relatively well, but those two plays were killers.
And we don't know whether it was a coverage mistake or a miscommunication between the corner and the safety, but it was a breakdown somewhere because, my goodness, he was on both occasions, he was 30 yards out in the open, and that was not an Aggie around him. And those 2 big plays were very, very instrumental and important in Campbell coming away with a big win today.
Timothy says we can't get out of our own way, drive killers, those penalties. And then Pierre says, this is embarrassing. I love my school, but losing every week is not it. And it is tough. I mean, you look at this.
It's very tough, and it's tough on the coaches. It's tough on the players. But again, what I can say, they play hard. They don't give up, man. I mean, we know what their record is. And but boy, they play every play, and hopefully they will get a break somewhere along the line that will enable us to get our first win in the CAA.
I don't think the numbers for Justin Fomby tell the story either. 20 of 42, 185 yards, 1 touchdown. He had the 2 interceptions. One of the interceptions was a 4th and 16. The other interception, Jamison Warren pulled up limp. Otherwise, he could have gone for a 50-50 ball. But your thoughts overall on how Formby played today?
I thought Formby played as well as we've seen Formby play all year. You know, we've talked about the fact that he is for the most part, he's a pocket passer. And the offensive line did a really excellent job today of giving him protection. I mean, he had some time in the pocket to read his receivers. He made some outstanding throws. There were only a couple of throws today where he overthrew the receiver, but I thought overall Formby played an excellent ball game today.
Let's see. Timothy says we can't seem to convert on third downs. Very true. A&T just 4-14. Did a better job in the second half, but still wasn't good enough. That was, another Timothy says, I don't want to hear any more excuses. Improve the football team and go back to the MEAC or get you a lacrosse team because I don't have another 30 years to wait for y'all to get it together again. Again, as we say each and every week, A&T is not going back to the MEAC. That's number one. But let's look at the MEAC and let's look at A&T. Okay, because I think one of the things we have to remember, and I get it, everybody wants to win. We all want to win. It's no doubt about it. You know, you're competing against the bigger budgets, and some may say, well, that's a decision that the administration made. At the end of the day, this is more than about athletics. It's more than about that. Yeah. It's academics. It's competing on that academic level. This is part of the reason that A&T is the largest HBCU, and they're getting a lot more students now because of being in the CAA that may not have ordinarily gone to A&T. So you're going to have to. It's going to take some time to get the athletics together.
It's really the atmosphere of college football now is such that it really is very, very difficult. And it's going to take some time. And I really believe that the Aggies can get it together. It's going to take a couple of really good recruiting classes, but they really play hard. And as we said, the margin for error is just so small that they almost have to play a perfect game, which is really, really tough to do. I mean, look at the game today. Defense played well. Defense down probably can't play any better. But you take away two big plays, and, we're in the ball game. But those two big plays are part of the game. And, of course, that is what allowed Campbell to get away with a big win today.
Daryl says, hey, we got the best man for the job according to Coach Brown and the AD. So there is a win coming. Hold on, y'all. It's coming. Look, it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's a tough season. I mean, we get the frustration of Aggie Nation. But, again, this is where we are. Coach Brown says he's the right man for the job. AD says he's the right man for the job. He's going to be here. That is not going to change. Let's see. Anthony says, looking forward to next season. Prayerfully, the portal will be good to us. And, you definitely look, we can make a lot of excuses. I think at the end of the day, when you lose 4 of your top 10 players, that hurts. In particular, you talk about the running game, which has struggled all season long. You lose your best 2 running backs. Yeah. That is tough, in part to overcome.
It's more than tough. It's almost impossible because, as you said, we lost our 3 best offensive players. We lost our quarterback, Kevin White, who has just, in my opinion, outstanding potential. Then we lost Kenji Christian, who was our top running back. Then Wesley Graves, who was our next top running back. And for you have to overcome those obstacles, I mean, that would be tough for anybody, though. Anybody.
Let's see, Hans. Shouts out to Hans. I think he was in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago. Always joins us here on the postgame show, as do a lot of our regulars. As a matter of fact, let me shout you guys out. Daryl, Timothy Bryant, Timothy Brooks. We see you guys every week. We appreciate it. But Hans says, Aggies, let's take a step back and a collective deep breath. Our defense, with the exception of some botched secondary assignments, held their own today. This was good considering all of the injuries. And again, those first 2 possessions, especially that first one when the bomb was thrown to Sincere Brown. Look, the next 5 possessions, A&T clamped down defensively. 0 points for Campbell.
Good point. That's a good point, Donal. And that first big throw to Brown was probably because of, I don't know whether it was a miscommunication or blown coverage, but the corner looked as though he thought he was getting some help from the safety over the top. Safety wasn't there, so of course Brown was 30 yards down the field. And after that, the defense, they did a tremendous job.
Okay, so Timothy says, I don't think the CAA is the reason students want to come here, but that's not really my point. When you go to places like Rhode Island, right? You wouldn't ordinarily go to Rhode Island. That's an opportunity for A&T to recruit. When you go somewhere, anywhere in the CAA, it's an opportunity for A&T to recruit against non-HBCU schools.
Exactly.
That's sort of my point there.
Point, yes.
With the academic piece. Again, A&T is not going back to the MEACs. It's going to have to make the best go of it while it's in the CAA. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Let's see. Han says offensively injuries have decimated the squad, but today they competed. Fambi is a plug-and-play quarterback, giving us time to develop the young bulls on the roster. The requests for patience are on point. And Fambi was not the starter coming. He competed for the job, wasn't the starter coming in. And you're right. We believe that Kevin White could be the future here, and we'll see what happens there. But so far, Fambi has done a solid job in his last season of college football.
Exactly, because when you have built your entire offense around a certain quarterback, everybody knows in college football today you got to have a quarterback. And we were thinking and hoping that Kevin White, who has just a tremendous amount of ability, would be that player. And, of course, he comes up with a big injury. Then we lose our two top running backs. And, I mean, boy, that is awfully hard to overcome. And in spite of all that, the kids are really playing hard. They're giving you all they got on every play. And it's just unfortunate that we just can't make the big play when we have to and, put points on the board. But I think there's a lot of reasons that we should – we know what the record is. I mean, we're not hiding from it. We know what the record is. But there are some positive things that we can look at. The kids are playing hard. And we got a lot of people don't understand, Don. We're playing a lot of young kids right now. A lot of young kids. We started a freshman and a sophomore in the secondary today. And so somewhere along the line, if these kids hang on, they're going to grow, they're going to develop, they're going to mature. So it doesn't mean it's going to be this way always.
Jay says we need data on the increase, which is due to the CAA. A&T is in the CAA for R1, but that is a very high bar. And I think that's coming. As long as you stay in the CAA, again, to me, it's an opportunity to recruit in some other places that you ordinarily wouldn't recruit in. Whenever these move, a lot of times when these moves are made on this level, it's rarely about athletics. And I get it. It's a very tough conference. We are having some teams that are having success. The football program, we believe, as time goes on, is going to have success. Let's see. Han says, and let's not forget a starter on our defense quit on us with a young bull stepped up. We may just be okay in the long term. No doubt that, injuries have sort of been a part of this. And, you just got to keep playing. It's another opportunity, I think, for A&T to play next week and try to see, try to get a W. Try to go out there and get a W. Let's see. Ian says lack of team speed was glaring tonight. He also says lack of team speed was glaring tonight. Jay said, let's give it one more year. I feel for Coach Brown. Let's see. Anthony says, have the three lost players been redshirted? That's a great
question.
You would think so, because remember, you've got four games,
yes,
to play before you would lose a year. So it's a good question. We'll see. I don't know the answer to that question, but we would say that we would think that the NCAA would give those players a medical red shirt since they didn't play more than the 3 games. Let's see. Preston says, one thing for sure, we are developing depth for next year. Let's see. Kevin says KJ White will be ready for Ware next season. Aggie pride, don't run away. Edward says, please stop using MEAC as an excuse. we can't beat those teams. So yeah, we understand a lot of reaction here from Aggie Nation, and it is frustrating when you're 1-7. But I think A&T is continuing to compete.
It's very frustrating, and I understand the frustration. I mean, as a player and a coach, I've been involved in frustrating situations like this, and you just got to keep plugging, man, and just hope for the best. And I really like the fact that they never quit. They play hard. And as I said before, we are playing a lot of young players, and hopefully those kids are going to mature and get better. And I think that's a positive thing.
Daryl says, I think it's time for Aggie Nation to let it go with the MEAC, which, again, you're 2 years into the CAA. Yeah. They made the move to the Big South for a couple of years. And I get it. The A&T, a lot of the alums, Aggie Nation, still frustrated with the move to the CAA. But listen, guys, I mean, straight up,
it is what it is. We're not going back. That's just a given down that, we don't have to discuss. They're not going back to the MEAC. And, for the foreseeable future, Coach Brown's going to be here. And so we're just going to have some patience, and hopefully, they can turn this thing around.
Can we do a better job of recruiting players for our scheme, says Warren. Well, certainly you can always do better in the recruiting game. No doubt about that. No, we've got a lot here from Aggie Nation on today. Next up, however, let's talk a little bit about that. Next up is William and Mary. That's going to be a tough football game. We get it.
That's tough. That's going to be a tough. That's going to be a tough game. They are traditionally they're powerhouses, and so that's going to be after a tough loss like this, and have to come back next week, and you don't get it a break. You got to go right back in the arena against William and Mary.
Yep, Hans, you are okay. Good. Hans is he's in Indy, live and always repping Aggie Pride daily around those parts. That's good. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe one day the Aggies will get invited back out. Yeah. I think the Aggies were invited to the Circle City Classic not that long ago. Perhaps A&T may get invited back out to the Circle City Classic. We'll see. Ulysses says it's hard to watch, but I'm here until the bitter end. And look, we love the passion of Aggie Nation. That's the thing. You all, by putting your comments out here, show that you care about this program. We really like that. We like the fact that
we know that the Aggies travel well every place we go. There's always just a big contingent of Aggie fans, and we know it's frustrating. It's frustrating for everybody, and you can imagine how frustrated it is for the coaching staff and the players. But all you can do is what you can do, and we just got to have patience and have belief that things are going to get better.
Let's end on a positive note. Pierre says, I'm excited for next season. But we still have 4 games remaining. And I get the sentiment right there. The sentiment, I think, right there is more so, okay, it's time to recruit, because of course recruiting is ongoing. So the Aggies, the coaching staff, are recruiting as we speak right now to bring some of the players in the program. And a lot of times it takes 3 years. I know people don't want to hear that. Right. I got it. But sometimes it takes time. When you've had success like A&T has, and then now it's, even going back to the 2022 season, a 7-4 season, falling in the Big South championship game. And of course, the previous years with the Celebration Bowls and the HBCU national championships and all of those things, you move to a new conference. It takes some time. There's a reset right now. And we understand that we're in a now, we want everything now because we had that success. But it's a whole new regime, a new conference. Let's see what happens in the subsequent 4 games. And then also next, a lot of times sometimes you need 3 years to establish your program. It's less than half the players on this roster are Coach Brown's recruits.
And, one of the things that we fail to realize is that the college game is totally changing now in terms of recruits, in terms of kids transferring from one place to another, and it really makes it problematic. And I hear a lot of people saying, "Well, hey, go out through the transfer portal and bring some players in." Well, that's easily said, but man, that is very, very difficult to do. And because there is so much competition out here now for players, and of course we know what the status of college football is now, that these kids are getting rewarded as they should be, but it makes for a whole different atmosphere now in terms of just going out trying to get kids from the transfer portal or trying to get kids in terms of recruits. It's just a whole different ball game now. And so, as you said, Donald, I think it's going to take time. I think it's going to take patience, but I think it's something that is doable for A&T football.
Aggie Nation, we appreciate the passion. Again, we're going to get ready to wrap it up here. Another tough loss for A&T, 21-7, this time to Campbell. And up next for the Aggies is, of course, as we mentioned, William and Mary. It's a home game. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff. Again, we understand the frustration of Aggie fans, but a lot of the fans, as they have shown their support right here on the Blue and Gold post-game show, come on out and support this team, support this program. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff, and we're coming on with the pregame show beginning at 12:30. Al, any last words?
No, just down this. It was a tough loss for A&T today, and we could definitely. We're not looking for moral victories, but their play today was much improved over last week, and the defense probably played the best game they played all year. And so, I mean, there's reason to be optimistic. And as you said, it's going to be a really tough game next week against William and Mary. Fans, get out here, keep your support for the Aggies. And I know it's tough to say be patient, but I think good things are coming down the road.
We appreciate you, Aggie Nation. We're going to get ready to get out of here. Thank you to our man, Dez, back at the studios of the Aggie Sports Radio, for all of his outstanding work. For Al Swann, Donal Ware saying so long for now. Coming to you from Bowie's Creek on the North Carolina, on the campus of Campbell University. Your final score, Campbell 21, North Carolina A&T 7. You've been listening to Aggie Football on the Aggie Sports Radio Network.